Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Uniontown Area High School Drama Club is proud to present tonight's presentation of the play 12 Angry Women. At this time, we would ask that you would please put your telephones on silent mode so as not to interfere with the neighbor next to you in trying to enjoy the production. Also, a reminder that 12 Angry Women is a 3-act play. There will be a regular length intermission following Act 1. After Act 2, there will be a brief intermission of just a couple of minutes. We ask that you do not leave the theater after the second act. Thank you very much for your cooperation. And we hope you enjoy the production. Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, ladies, and it is now your duty to sit down to try to separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, ladies.
The jury will retire.
He doesn't stand a chance.
Chewing gum? 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 Thank you, but no.
You know something?
I know lots of things. I'm in advertising.
You know, it's really hot in here.
I never would have known that if she wouldn't have told me. Would you?
I suppose not. I'd kind of forgotten.
All I've done today is perspire.
I bet you aren't perspiring like that boy who was tried.
You'd think they'd at least air condition the place. I almost died in court.
My taxes are high enough.
This should go fast anyways.
Yes, it's hot.
All right, ladies. Everybody's here. If you need anything, just knock. I'm right outside.
Did she just lock that door?
Yes, she did.
What do they think we are? Crooks?
They lock us up in here for a little while.
And then they lock that boy up forever. And that's all right with me.
I never knew they did that.
Sure, they locked the door. What did you think?
I just didn't know. It never occurred to me.
Shall we agree that it is hot and humid and our tempers are short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I'm fine just so long as I've got my crocheting.
I wonder what's been going down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone. The whole company, too. They aren't going to like this.
Well, I think this is our duty.
I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned that I might not have a job by the time I get back.
Ask her to help you. She's rich. I bet her husband could give you a wonderful job. Look at that outfit.
Is it an original?
Yes, it is.
I have an aunt who's a dressmaker.
How does she do?
Not too well. You know, a friend of my aunt, that is, well, she wanted to be on this jury in my place.
Why didn't you let her? I would have done anything to miss this.
And get caught or something? You know what kind of a fine you can get for a thing like that? Anyway, this friend, she was on a jury once, a case just about like this one.
So, what happened?
They let him go, reasonable doubt. And do you know, about 8 years later, they found out he'd actually done it anyway. A guilty man, a murderer, let loose on the streets.
How horrible!
Well, did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
No one can be held in double jeopardy. You can't be tried twice for the same crime unless it's a hung jury.
That isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They should have finished it in 2. Talk, talk, talk. Have you ever heard so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Everyone gets a fair trial. That's the system. Well, I suppose you can't say anything against it.
How'd you like that business about the knife? Did you ever in your life hear such a story?
Well, you have to expect that. You know what you're dealing with.
He bought a switch knife that night.
And then claimed he lost it.
A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father!
Men.
An awful way to kill your father. A knife in his chest?
Look at the kind of people they are. You know them.
What's the matter? You got a cold?
Lulu, these hot weather colds could kill you.
I had one last year. On my vacation, too.
All right, ladies, let's take seats.
Right. This better be fast. I've got tickets to see Matilda for tonight. My husband and I must be the only people in the entire world who haven't seen it yet. Okay, Your Honor, start the show.
How about sitting down? The lady at the window, how about sitting down? Oh, I'm sorry. Hard to figure, isn't it? A boy kills his father. Bing, just like that. You know what I think it is? It's this juvenile delinquency. People let their children run wild these days. Maybe it serves them right.
There's no point in getting emotional about it. It's a question of evidence, not how we feel.
We all agreed that it was hot.
And that our tempers would get short.
But that's if we disagree. This is open and shut. Let's get it done.
All right, now you ladies can handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not gonna make any rules or anything. If we want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote now and see where we stand.
Let's vote now. Who knows, maybe we can all go home.
Yes, let's see who's where.
Right, let's vote now.
All right, let us vote. Okay, all those voting guilty, raise your hands. 10, 11. Okay, not guilty?
Say, what's the matter with you?
Okay, the vote is 11 to 1. Now we know where we stand.
Do you really think the boy isn't guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, she doesn't know.
In 6 days, I can learn calculus. This is ABC.
I don't think it's as simple as ABC.
I've never met a more guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He's not guilty until we say he is guilty. Are we to vote on his face?
You sat right in court and heard the same things as I did. The boy's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if someone's a killer?
Oh well.
I'd like to know what the facial characteristics of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Look, what is there about the case that makes you think the boy is innocent?
He's 19 years old.
That's old enough. He knifed his own father 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old murderer.
While I agree with you that the boy is guilty, I think we should try to avoid emotionally colored arguments.
All right. They proved it a dozen different ways. Do you want me to list them?
No. Do you believe that stupid story he told in court?
Now.
Do you believe the boy's story? I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what'd you vote not guilty for?
Look, there were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Who says it's easy for me?
Or me.
No one. He's still just as guilty whether it's an easy vote or a hard one.
Is there something wrong because I voted fast?
Not necessarily.
I think the boy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
All right. What do you want?
Look, this boy has been kicked around his entire life, living in a slum. His mother has been dead since he was 9 years old. He's a tough, angry boy. Do you know why slum children get that way? Because we knock them over the heads all the time. I just think we owe him a few words. That's all.
All right, life's hard. It was hard for me. Everything we've got, my husband and I fought for. I worked my way through college, where I met him. That was a long time ago, and perhaps you do forget. I fought, yes. My husband fought. But neither of us ever killed.
And I know what hard luck's like, but I never killed no one either.
I've been kicked around too. Wait until you work in an ad agency and the guy who buys it walks in.
In my country, in Europe, kicking was a science. But let's try to think of something better than that. I don't mind telling you this, sister, but we don't owe the boy a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? You know what that trial cost? He's lucky he even got one. Look, we're all adults here, and you're not going to tell us we're supposed to believe him. Knowing what he is, I've lived among them all my life, and you can't believe a word they say. You know that.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing to believe. Since when is dishonesty a group characteristic? You don't have a monopoly on the truth.
All right. Save it for Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this woman says is very dangerous.
I don't see any need for acting like this. I think we ought to behave like ladies.
Right.
Certainly, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
We're going to discuss this case. Why? Let's discuss the facts.
I think that's a good point. We have a job to do. Let's do it.
If you ladies don't mind, I'm going to close the window. It was blowing on my neck.
I'd like to have the window open.
But it was blowing on me.
Don't you want a little air? It's summer. It's hot.
I was very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in this room. It's the only window, if you don't mind.
I have rights too, you know.
So do the rest of us.
Couldn't you just trade chairs with somebody at the other end of the table?
Fine. I will open the window if someone's intrigued.
Take my chair.
Thank you.
Shall we get on with the case?
Yes, let's.
I may have an idea here. I'm just thinking out loud now, but it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this lady that we are right and she is wrong. Maybe if we talk for a minute or two, try it on for size.
That sounds fair.
Very fair.
Supposing we can once around the table.
Okay, let's start it off.
Right. I guess you were first.
Oh, well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what ways was it obvious?
I mean that no one proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. It's in the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it, right?
Everyone has.
Well, sure, I've heard of it. I know what it is. What I meant, well, anyways, I think he's guilty.
No reasons, just guilty. There is a life at stake here.
Okay, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's take the old man who lives in the room underneath where the murder took place. At 10 minutes after 12, he said he heard loud noises coming from the upstairs apartment. He said it sounded like a fight. Then he heard the boy say to his father, "I'm gonna kill you!" A second later, he runs to the door of his apartment, looks out, and sees the boy running downstairs and out of the apartment. Then he called the police. They said they found the father with a knife in his chest.
And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight.
Right. Now what else do you want?
Doesn't seem to fit.
The boy's whole story is flimsy. He claimed he was at the movies. That's a little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
He didn't have any ticket stub.
Who keeps a ticket stub at the movies?
It's fair enough.
I suppose. But the cashier didn't remember him.
And the ticket taker didn't either.
Hey, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony don't prove it, nothing can.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she?
Ladies, let's go in order.
Just a minute. Here is a boy who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know? Anyways, she looks out the window and sees the boy right across the street knife his father.
How can she be sure it was the boy when she saw it through the windows of a passing elevated train?
She has lived near him all of his life. His window is right opposite of hers, across the L tracks actually. She swore she saw him do it. Weren't you just telling us a second ago that you can't trust them? That you can't believe them? So? Then let me ask you this. How can you trust her when she's one of them too, isn't she? You're a real smart cookie, aren't you? Now take it easy!
Come on. Sit down. What are you letting her get you all upset for? Relax.
Ladies, they did take us out to that woman's room and had us look through the window of a passing elevated train, correct?
Yes, we looked.
And weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
I couldn't see as well as they told me I would. But I could see to the other side. You see! You do see, don't you? Let's calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. What about you? I don't know. What convinced me was the testimony of those people across the hall. Didn't they say something about an argument between the father and the boy around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
They heard the father hit the boy twice and then saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
What does that prove?
Well, it doesn't exactly prove anything. It's just part of the picture. I didn't say it proved anything. Anything else? No.
I don't know. Most of it's been said already. We could talk all day about this thing, but I think we're wasting our time.
I don't.
Neither do I. Let's go on.
All right then, let's take a look at the boy's record. He's stolen a car, he's been arrested for mugging. I think they once said he even stabbed someone in the arm.
They did.
He was picked up for knife fighting. At 15, he was in reform school.
And they sent him to reform school for stabbing someone.
This is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him regularly. He used his fists.
So would I on a boy like that. Or if I couldn't, I'd see that his father did.
You know what? You're right. It's the kids nowadays. You know, the way they are. They don't listen. I've got a boy. When he was 8 years old, I caught him out with some of the neighborhood gang, fighting, and out in the street. I gave him a whipping he would never forget. You know what? When he was 15, he hit me. A woman. His own mother in the face. He's big, you know, and I haven't seen him in 3 years. But maybe I'm just better off. A rotten kid. You know, I hate tough kids. Because you work your heart out and... All right, let's get on with it.
Look, we're missing the point here. This boy, let's admit he's the product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into the reasons why slum neighborhoods are breeding grounds for criminals. They are. I know it. So do you. The children who come out of slum neighborhoods are potential menaces to society.
You said it right there. I don't want anything to do with them, believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
No, wait a minute.
I used to play in a backyard that was filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
Now let's be reasonable. There's nothing personal.
There is something personal!
Come on. She didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Whom did she mean?
I can understand the sensitivity.
Now let's stop the bickering. We're wasting time. It's your turn. All right. I've had a peculiar feeling. Somehow, the defense counsel never did a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
Whilst I still feel that the boy is guilty, I agree with you that the defense counsel was bad.
So,
This is a point.
what about the facts?
So many questions were never answered.
What about the questions that were answered? Well, for instance, let's take that cute little switch knife. You know, the one that fine, upright boy admitted buying.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's bring it in here and look at it. I'd like to see it again, Madam Foreman.
We already saw the thing once. I don't see why we need to look at it again. What do you think?
The lady has a right to see exhibits and evidence.
All right.
This knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
Let's get the sequence of events as they relate to the switch knife.
The boy admits leaving his house at 8 o'clock, right after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. The boy went to a neighborhood store and bought a switch knife. The storekeeper was arrested the following day when he admitted to selling the knife to the boy.
Well, I think we can all agree it's an unusual knife. It's pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper identified the knife and said it was the only one of its kind in stock. Why did the boy get it?
As a present for a friend of his, he says.
Am I right so far?
Right.
You bet she's right. Now listen to this lady. She knows what she's talking about.
Next, the boy claims that on the way home, the knife fell out of his coat pocket. Says he never saw it again. You know what really happened there, ladies. The boy took the knife home, stabbed his father with it, and even remembered to wipe off the fingerprints. Everyone connected with the case identified this knife. Now, are you trying to tell me that somebody picked the knife up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to be amusing?
No, I'm saying that it's possible the boy lost the knife and someone else with a similar knife stabbed his father. It's possible.
Take a look at that knife. It's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it. Aren't you trying to make us believe a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make you believe anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible. What are you trying to do?
What is this? Who do you even think you are?
Look at it. It's the same knife.
Quiet! Let's be quiet.
Where did you get it?
I got it in a little junk shop around the corner of the boy's house. It cost $2.
Now listen to me.
I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but you proved absolutely zero. Maybe there are 10 knives like that. So what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know it.
Maybe he didn't lie. Maybe he did lose the knife. Maybe he did go to the movies, and maybe the reason the cashier didn't remember him was because he snuck into the movies and was too ashamed to say so. Did no one here ever sneak into the movies once or twice when they were young?
I didn't. Really? Not even once?
We didn't have movies.
Oh.
Look, maybe he did go to the movies, maybe he didn't. And he may have lied. Do you think he lied?
Well, that's a stupid question. Sure he lied.
Do you?
You know my answer to that. You know what I think. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
Now wait a second. What are you, the boy's lawyer? Listen, there are still 11 of us who think he's guilty. You're alone. What do you think you're going to accomplish? If you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, he'll be tried again and found guilty sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? We could be here all night.
It's only one night. A man may die.
Oh, now come on!
Well, you're right. Man may die.
I think we gotta get on with it now.
Right. Let's get going here.
How do you like this woman?
What do you say? You're the one holding up the show.
Obviously, you don't think the boy is guilty.
I have a doubt in my mind.
But there was the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard the boy scream it out.
And the woman across the L tracks, she saw it.
We know he bought a switch knife that night, and we don't know where he really was. At the movies?
Him and his father did get in a fight that night.
He's been a violent boy all the way. And while that doesn't prove anything,
Still, you know. I have a proposition. I want to call for the vote. I want the 11 of you to vote by secret ballot. I'll abstain. If there are still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
Okay, let's do it.
That sounds fair. Does anyone object?
let's do it. Perhaps this is best.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. 6 guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
Well, how do you like that? Who was it? I think we have a right to know.
All right, that's it. Who did it? What idiot changed her vote?
Is that any way to talk about a man's life?
Whose life are you talking about? The life of the dead man or the life of a murderer?
I want to know. Who?
So do I.
Excuse me, this was a secret ballot?
No one looked while we did it. But now I want to know.
A secret ballot. We agreed on that point, no? If the lady wants it to remain a secret...
What do you mean? There are no secrets in here. I know who did it. What's the matter with you? You come here and you feel guilty, and then this slip cookie starts to tear your heart out about stories about a poor little boy who just couldn't help becoming a murderer. So you decide to change your vote. If that isn't the most sickening... Hold it!
I agree with you on the guilt of the boy, but let's be fair.
Hold it? Be fair! That's just what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man in the chair where he belongs, but instead, we're paying attention to fairy tales.
Now, just a minute.
Now listen to me.
Ladies, please, let's try to keep this organized.
It isn't organized, but let's try to be civilized.
Well, we're still nowhere.
No,
Please.
we're somewhere. We're getting there. Please, I would like to say something here. I have always thought that a person was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. That is the reason why I moved here. I wanted the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually, I would. In this one case, I agree with you. But the point I wish to make is that in my own country, I'm ashamed to
Oh, now, what are we gonna do? Spend the entire night talking about the history of your country?
It's always wise to bear in mind what has happened in other countries when people aren't allowed to disagree. But we are, so let's stick to the subject.
Yes, let's stick to the subject. I want to ask you, what made you change your vote?
I want to know too. You haven't told us yet.
What makes you think I did change my vote?
Because I do. Now get on with it.
There's nothing for her to tell you. She didn't change her vote. I
I was going to tell you, but you're so sure of yourself.
Well, sorry. Okay, now.
Maybe you'd like to know why.
Let me tell you why that boy's...
The lady wants to talk. Thank you. This lady chose not to stand alone against us. That's her right. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strongly. She left the verdict up to us. She gambled for support, and I gave it to her. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
That's fine. If the speech is over, let's go on.
If there was anything in the boy's favor, I'd vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're clutching at straws.
As guilty as they get. That's the boy, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out, but she'll come around. She's got to, and fundamentally, she's a very reasonable person.
I guess so.
They haven't come up with one real fact yet to back up a not guilty verdict.
It's hard, you know.
Yes, it is. And what exactly does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt really mean?
What's a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. You've got to have law and order. You've got to draw the line somewhere. Otherwise, everyone would just start going around knifing people.
Not much doubt here.
2 women think so. I wonder why. I really wonder why.
Well, you do hear stories about innocent men who have gone to jail or death sometimes, and then years later things turn up.
And then, on the other hand, some men get turned loose and they go and they kill again. They squeeze out on some technicality and kill again. Look, hon, now that we've kind of cooled off, well, I got a little excited a minute ago. Well, you know how it is. I didn't mean to get nasty. There's nothing personal.
Think nothing of it.
Look, supposing you answer me this. If the boy didn't kill him, who did?
As far as I know, we're here to decide whether the boy on trial is guilty or not. We're not concerned with anyone else's motives here.
I suppose, but who else had a motive?
The boy's father was along in years. Maybe an old grudge.
Remember, it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is an important thing to remember.
Everyone's a lawyer. Supposing you explain to us what your reasonable doubts are.
This is not easy. So far, it's only a feeling I have. A feeling! Perhaps you don't understand.
No, I don't.
A feeling. What are we to do? Spend all night talking about your feelings? What about the facts?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Look, the old man said he heard the boy yell, "I'm gonna kill you." Then he heard the father's body fall. Then he saw the boy run out of the house 15 seconds after that.
Where's the reasonable doubt in that?
And let's not forget about the old woman across the street. She looked into the open window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it!
Now, that's not enough for you.
It's not enough for me.
What is enough for you? I'd like to know.
How do you like her? It's like talking into a dead phone.
The window is straight across from the L track. The train has 5 cars and she saw the killing for the last 2. She remembers the most insignificant details.
Well, what have you got to say about that?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right.
Well, supposing you think about it. Want to see the pattern for a crocheted skirt my daughter sent me? It doesn't look very hard.
Wouldn't it be out of style by the time you got it done?
This isn't a sewing circle.
Hey, wait a minute!
This is a man's life.
Who do you think you
All
are?
right, let's take it easy.
Did you see her? The nerve! The absolute nerve!
All right, calm down. It don't mean anything.
How about sitting down?
This isn't a sewing circle. Who does she think she is?
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So?
All right. How long does it take an elevated train to pass a given point?
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
How long would it take? Guess.
About 10 seconds, maybe?
What do you think?
About 10 or 12 seconds, maybe.
I'd say that's a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would say about 10 seconds, perhaps.
10 seconds. Yes. All right, we're agreed. 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. An elevated train passes a given point in 10 seconds. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out of that window and touch the L, right?
That's right. I tried it.
So?
Has anyone here ever lived near the L tracks before?
I've lived close to him.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I've lived next to the L too. And when your window is down and the train is going by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself think.
You can't hear yourself think. Get to the point.
An L train passes a given point in 10 seconds. The old man would have had to hear the boy say,
He didn't say it. He screamed it.
the old man would have had to hear the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." And then 1 second later, the body falls. That's the testimony, right?
Right.
And the woman across the street, she looked out the window of the last 2 cars and saw the body fall, right?
Right. So?
The last 2 cars. The last 2 cars.
What are you giving us here?
An L train passes a given point in 10 seconds, or 2 seconds per cart. The L had been going past the old man's window for at least 6 seconds or more before the body fell, according to the woman. The old man would have had to hear the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you," right as an L was roaring past his nose. It isn't possible he could have heard the boy.
What do you mean? Of course he could have heard it.
With an L train going by,
He said the boy yelled it out.
an L makes a lot of noise.
Well, it's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think he could have heard it. Maybe the old man didn't hear it. I mean with the L noise.
What are you people talking about? Are you calling the old man a liar?
No. He wouldn't really lie. Just make himself believe he heard those words and recognized the boy's face.
Well, that's the most fantastic story I have ever heard. How could you make up a thing like that?
I'm not making it up.
You must be. People don't lie about things like that.
He made himself believe he told the truth.
What do you know about it?
I speak from experience. Is there anything else? Cough drop? No, thank you. Anybody want a cough drop?
Come on, let's get on with it. I'll take one. Thank you. All right. There's one more thing I'd like to point out here. I think we proved that the old man couldn't have possibly have heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill you."
Well, I disagree.
Let's hear her through anyway.
But supposing the old man did hear the boy say, "I'm going to kill you," this phrase, how many times has each one of you used it before? Probably hundreds. You yell out, "If you do that once more, Junior, I'm going to murder you." Or your husband yells out, "Come on, Rocky, kill him." We use it every day. It doesn't actually mean we're going to murder someone.
Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered.
One thing more. The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you." And the boy screamed it at the top of his lungs. Now don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that, the way he said it, they mean it.
And how they mean it. Do you really think the boy would be dumb enough to shout out a thing like that so the entire neighborhood could hear him? I don't. He's much too bright for that, right? He is a common and ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
The boy is clever enough.
I'd like to change my vote. to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
The vote is 9-3 in favor.
Oh, why did you change your vote?
I think there's a doubt.
Where? What is the doubt?
There's the knife.
Oh, fine!
There's the old man, too. Maybe he did lie. But then, just maybe he didn't lie. Maybe the old man doesn't like the boy.
Well, if that isn't the end.
I just believe there's a reasonable doubt.
What are you basing it on? Stories that this woman made up? She ought to write for Amazing Detective Monthly. She'd make a fortune. Listen, the boy had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't his lawyer bring up all these points?
Lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, heavens! You sit in here and pull stories out of thin air, and we're just supposed to believe that the old man didn't get up out of bed, run to the door, and see the boy run down the stairs 15 seconds after the killing?
It's a testimony.
And the old man swore to this. Yes, he swore to this only so he could be important.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked. What's the difference? He got there!
I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could run.
He said he went. I remember that. He said he went to the front door.
Where was his bedroom? Down the hall somewhere? Down the hall? Are we to send the boy off to die for down the hall somewhere?
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember this?
I don't. Neither do I. I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the apartment, Madam Foreman.
Why don't we just have them run the trial over so you could get everything straight?
The bedroom is down the hall somewhere. Do you know? Do you know exactly where it is? Please. A boy's life is at stake. Do you know?
Well,
Madam Foreman, I heard you.
All right. What's this one for? How come you're the only one in the room who wants to see exhibits all the time?
I want to see this one too.
So do I.
And I want to stop wasting time!
Are we going to start wading through all that nonsense about where the body was found?
We're not. We're gonna find out how a man who has suffered from 2 strokes in the past 3 years and walks with a pair of canes could have possibly have made it to his front door in 15 seconds.
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge that kind of thing.
He said 15. He was very positive about it.
He's an old man. You saw that. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything? Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. That is my job.
You wanted this? Yes, please.
do me a favor. Wake me up when this is over. I've looked at that diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough.
Some of us are interested. Go ahead.
All right. This is the apartment in which the killing took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. Here are the L tracks, the bedroom, another bedroom, living room, bathroom, kitchen. And this is the hall. Here's the front door to the apartment, and here are the steps. Now, the old man was in his bedroom. He says he got up, went out into the hall, down the hall, to the front door, opened it, and looked out just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Am I right?
That's the story.
That's what happened.
15 seconds after he heard the body fall.
Correct.
His bed was at the window. It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door. The length of the hall is 43 feet, 6 inches. He had to get up out of bed, get his canes, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet, open the front door, all in 15 seconds?
Do you think this is possible? You know it's possible.
I don't see why not. What are you getting at? What are you doing?
I want to try this thing. Let's see how long it took him. I'm going to pace off 12 feet, the length of his bedroom.
It's a ridiculous waste of time.
Let her do it.
I can't see any harm in it.
Hand me a
Foolish.
chair, please. This is his bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room?
I'd say it's about 20 feet.
Just about.
All right, 20 feet is close enough. From here to the door and back is 40 feet. Wouldn't you say that?
A few feet, maybe.
What makes you think you can do this?
Can't stop her.
Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it should only take 15 seconds. We can spare that. Does anyone here have a watch with a second hand on it?
I have.
All right, when you want me to start, stamp your foot. That'll be the body falling.
We'll time you from there.
Let's assume he keeps his canes right at his bedside, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm waiting for the hand to get to 60.
Speed it up. He walked twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even faster than the old man walked in the courtroom.
No, it isn't.
If you want me to go faster, I will.
Speed it up a little.
Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
15, 20, 30, 35, 39 seconds exactly.
That can't be.
39.
Now that's interesting.
39 seconds.
Say now,
What do you think of that?
39 seconds.
And the old man swore, on his oath, that it was 15.
She may have been a little bit off from the speed the old man walked at, but 24 seconds? Well, now you know.
Far be it from me to call anyone a liar, but even allowing for quite a difference between you and the old man, why, it's quite a...
Discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to the door, heard somebody racing down the stairs, and assumed it was the boy.
I think that's possible.
Assumed? Now listen to me, everyone. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day. But this little display takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
Tell her! You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slums and injustice, and you've got a couple of soft-hearted sob-sisters listening to you. Well, I'm not! I'm sick of it! What's the matter with you people? This boy is guilty and he's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Our fingers? What are you, his executioner?
I'm one of them.
I bet you'd like to pull that switch yourself.
For this good for nothing, you'd bet I'd like to pull the switch.
I feel sorry for you.
Don't start with me.
What it must be like to want to pull that switch?
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
Shut up!
You want to see that boy die because it satisfies you personally, not because of the facts. You disgust me.
You just shut up! Let me go! I'll kill her! I'll kill her!
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Is everything all right, ladies? I heard a noise.
Yeah, everything's fine. You can take that. We're done with it now.
Well, what are you looking at?
I don't see any need for behaving like children.
Nor do I. We have a responsibility. This is a remarkable thing about democracy, that we are, what is the word? Notified. That we are notified by mail to come down to this place and declare the guilt or innocence of a person, of a matter that we have not known before. This is what makes us strong. We should not make it a personal thing.
Thank you. Very much.
Why do you thank me?
We forget. It's good to be reminded.
I'm glad we're going to be civilized about this.
Well, we're still nowhere.
No, we're somewhere. Or getting there, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, who's got an idea?
I think maybe we should try another vote. Madam Foreman? It's all right with me. Anyone doesn't want to vote?
Let's vote.
I want an open ballot. Let's call out our votes. I want to see who's where.
That sounds fair. Anyone object? All right, I'll call off your jury numbers. I vote guilty. Number 2,
Not guilty.
3,
Guilty.
4,
Guilty.
5,
Not guilty.
6, not guilty. 7,
Guilty.
8, not guilty. 9, not guilty. 10, guilty. 11,
Not guilty.
12, guilty.
Well, what about that?
The vote is 6-6.
I'm ready to walk into court right now and declare it a hung jury. There's no point in this going on anymore.
I'd like to know why you changed your vote. And why you changed your vote. And why you did. 6 women in this room think a murderer is going to be turned loose in the streets. Emotion won't do. Why?
It would seem that the old man did not see the boy run down the stairs. I do not think it likely that the old man heard anyone scream, "I'm going to kill you." Old men dream. And if the boy did scream that he was going to kill, we have the authority of this person to prove that it might not really mean he's going to kill.
Why don't we just take it into the judge and let the boy take his chances with 12 other jurors?
6-6. I don't think we'll ever agree on anything.
It's got to be unanimous. And we're never going to convince her.
At first, I was alone. Now 5 others agree with me. There is a doubt.
You can't ever convince me that there's a doubt. Because I know that there isn't no doubt.
I tell you what, we're a hung jury. It happens sometimes.
We are not going to be a hung jury, but we are, right now, a perfect balance.
If there is
Let's take it into the judge.
If there is a reasonable doubt, I don't see it.
The doubt is there in my mind. Maybe we should vote.
What do you mean, vote?
Not again.
I'm still confused. Vote on what? Are we or aren't we a hung jury?
You mean that we vote yes, we are a hung jury, or no, we are not a hung jury?
That's just what I was thinking.
I'm not sure we could even agree on whether or not we're a hung jury.
We can't even agree on whether or not the window should be open.
Let's make it a majority vote. The majority wins.
So if 7 or more of us vote yes, we are a hung jury, then we take it into the judge and tell them we're a hung jury?
Right. And if 7 or more of us vote no, then we aren't a hung jury, and so we go on discussing.
It doesn't quite make sense to me.
It's the only solution.
I agree. It's the only way.
Anything to end this.
Are we agreed then? 7 or more votes yes, and we take it into the judge.
Let's call out our votes.
All right. I vote yes, we are a hung jury. Number 2,
No.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
No.
6, no. 7,
Yes.
8,
No.
9?
No.
10?
Yes.
11?
No.
12? Yes.
Oh no.
6 to 6. Can't even get a majority to decide whether or not we're a hung jury.
I went with the majority vote on this one, and I didn't agree with voting that way. I still don't, so I'm changing my vote. I say no, we are not a hung jury. I believe that the boy is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but there are some things I want to find out from those who change their minds.
So we aren't a hung jury, and so we go on.
Good. We go on.
Why did you change your vote?
Well, she seems so sure and has made a number of good points, while she just gets mad and insults everyone.
Does the anger and the insult change the guilt of the boy? He did do it. Are you going to turn a murderer loose because one of the jurors becomes angry when she thinks a murderer is being turned loose?
That's true.
There is a doubt.
I don't think so. The track is straight across from the window. Let's take that point. So the L train would have made a low, rumbling noise. L trains screech when they go around curves. So the old man would have heard a scream, which is high-pitched. And it is a tenement, and they have thin walls.
Good, that's it.
So what if the old man was wrong about the time it took for him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw? Please keep in mind that there were no fingerprints on the knife. And it is summer, so gloves seem unlikely.
Now listen to this lady. She's talking sense.
And it would have taken a few seconds to get a handkerchief out and wipe away the fingerprints.
That is a point.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
What if the old man was wrong about the time it took for him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw running down the stairs? It would have taken the murderer about 35 seconds to wipe away the fingerprints and get down the stairs to where the old man saw him. The boy, that is.
That's right.
We reconstructed the old man getting out of bed and going to the door. Now let's reconstruct the actual crime, as well as we can reconstruct it.
I think a murderer could use up 30 to 40 seconds pretty easily at that point.
Let's reconstruct the killing.
Yes, let's.
Here, you do the stabbing.
No, I'll do it.
All right. Then why don't you be the one that gets stabbed? And don't forget, you take 1 second to fall.
And he was found on his side, his right side. So fall and roll onto your right side. If someone hates another person enough to kill him, don't you think it's reasonable to assume that the murderer would look at his victim for a second or two?
Try and divorce yourself from this particular case. Just human nature.
Yes, it seems reasonable.
Now wait a minute. He falls and ends up on his right side. Well, the father does, but stabbing someone isn't like shooting them, even when it's right in the heart. He would work around for a few seconds, lying there on the floor, writhing, maybe.
That is a point. There would have been enough oxygen in his system to carry him for about 2 to 3 seconds, I'd say.
Wouldn't the father have cried out?
Maybe the boy held his mouth.
Also, there's another point I'd like to bring out. Anyone who is clear enough mentally to wipe away the fingerprints after killing someone, well, that person is also clear enough mentally to look around the room, or apartment in this case, to see if there are any other clues.
This gets better and better.
We're trying to make it clear. One doesn't talk about quality when murder is involved. Well, let's do it.
About this on the fingerprints. The boy wiped the fingerprints off the knife. Well, what about the doorknob? If I saw a man coming into my home, a man who hated me, and he was wiping the doorknob off with a handkerchief, I'd scream. I think even a man would have an uneasy feeling. This means the doorknobs must have been wiped after the killing, which too would take some time.
All right, you timed the last one. Why don't you time this one too?
All right.
Stamp your foot when you want me to start.
I'm waiting for the hand to get to 60.
would have wiped both knobs. Stop.
20? Yeah, 20. 25, 29, about 29 and a half seconds, I'd say.
And whoever did murder the old man, which I think it was the boy, still had to run down the hall and down the stairs, at least one flight of stairs. You see? You see? So the old man may have been wrong about the time it took for him to get to the door, but realistically, it's not hard to believe that he saw the boy running down the stairs.
So now both time sequences check out. The one that you did and the one that we did with running down the stairs and everything. It basically checks out on time.
Sure, he's an old man who wants attention. Well, she was probably right, but the old man feels the same way everyone does. A life is at stake.
So the story of the old man may well be true.
Except for the fact that he absolutely swore, under oath, that it was only 15 seconds.
We seem to all agree that it was 25 to 35 seconds later.
You are now admitting that the old man lied in one case and told the truth in another. I'll agree this does tend to prove the old man of the story, but in part, he is now a proven liar, and this is by your own admission.
It may be true that the old man lies in part, but I think I will change my vote once again. Guilty.
Well, what about you? What do you think now?
I don't know what I think. I want to talk some more. At first I thought guilty, and then I changed. But now I think I'm swinging back to guilty.
And what about you?
No. I'm now real doubt. Real doubt.
I say guilty. I was right the first time.
Now we're beginning to make sense in here.
The vote seems to be about 9 guilty to 3 not guilty.
One more question about the old man downstairs. How many of you have lived in an apartment building before?
I don't know that you are thinking, but I know that I'm thinking.
What's that?
I do not live in a tenement, but it is close. And there's just enough light in the hall so you can see the steps. No more. The light bulbs are so small. And this murder took place in a tenement. Remember how we stumbled on the steps?
The police officers were using big bulbs. One even had a flashlight, remember?
This old man, who misjudged the time by 20 seconds. On this, we all agree. This old man looked down the hallway of a dark tenement and recognized a running figure.
He was 100% wrong about the time. It took twice as long as he had thought.
Then couldn't he be 100% wrong about whom he saw?
That's the most stupid thing that I've ever heard of. You're making that up out of thin air.
We're a hung jury. Just be honest about it.
Do you truly believe that there is no room for reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
I beg your pardon. Maybe you don't understand the term reasonable doubt.
What do you mean I don't understand it? Who do you think you are to talk to me like that? How do you like this babe? She comes over here running for her life, and before she can even take a big breath of air, she's telling us how to run our lives? The nerve of her!
No one is asking where anyone came from.
I was born right here.
Or where your mother came from.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt us to take a few tips from people who come running here. Maybe they know something we don't know. We're not so perfect.
Please, I'm used to this. It's all right.
It's not all right.
Okay. I apologize. Is that what you want?
It's what I want.
All right, let's stop the arguing. Who's got something constructive to say?
Well, something has been bothering me a little. The whole business about the stab wound, the downward angle of it, you know?
Don't tell me we're gonna start on that. They went over it and over it in court.
I know they did, but I just don't go along with it. The boy is 5 feet 8 inches tall, and his father was 6 feet 2 inches tall. That's a difference of 6 inches. It's an awkward thing to stab down into the chest of someone who's half a foot taller than you are.
All right. You're not gonna be satisfied until you see it again. I'm gonna give a demonstration. Somebody get up. Okay. Now watch this. I don't want to have to do it again. Is that 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
Let it be more.
That's not funny.
What's the matter with you?
Now come on. No one's hurt, are they?
No one's hurt.
All right. There's your angle. Take a look at it. Down and in. That's how I'd stab a taller person in the chest. And that's how it's done. Go on. Take a look at it and tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in. I guess there's no argument.
Have you ever stabbed anyone before?
Of course not.
Have you?
Don't be silly.
Have you?
No, I didn't.
Then where do you get all your information about how it's done?
What do you mean? It's just common sense.
Have you ever seen a person stabbed?
Well, no.
The boy was a trained knife fighter. He even went to school for knifing someone. Isn't that so?
That's right.
Well, let me ask you this. This looks like a pretty awkward way to handle a knife, right?
What are you asking me for?
What's the matter with me? Give me that knife.
Have you ever seen a knife fight?
Yes, I have.
In the movies?
In my backyard. On my stoop. In the vacant lot across the street. Too many of them. Switch knives came with the neighborhood where I lived. Funny that I hadn't thought of it before. Guess you try to forget those things. Anyone who's ever used a switch knife before wouldn't have stabbed downward. That's just not how you handle a switch knife. Use it underhand.
Then the boy couldn't have made the kind of wound that killed his father.
I suppose it's conceivable that the boy made the wound, but it's not likely. Not if the boy had any experience with switch knives. And we know the boy had a lot of experience with switch knives.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. You're giving us a lot of mumbo jumbo.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
What about you?
Listen, I'll tell you all something. I'm a little sick and tired of this whole thing already. We're getting nowhere fast. Let's stop all this arguing and go home.
Before we decide on anything, I want to try to pull this together.
This should be good.
You want me to time this one too?
Let's hear her. I'm in advertising. I like to see things get pulled together. It makes for a good layout. Let's try to look at the whole picture again. See if some pattern is there. We could try getting a fresh point of view.
I want you all to look at this logically and consistently.
We have guilty.
I want to know, is the boy smart or is he dumb?
What do you mean?
This is a boy who's gone to reform school for knife fighting. The night of the murder, he bought a knife, a switch knife. It would then take a very stupid boy to murder a man, his father, with the exact kind of instrument everyone would associate with the sun.
Well, I quite agree. He's dumb.
However, if he were dumb, why did he make the kind of wound an inexperienced man would make?
I'm not sure I understand.
To murder someone must take great emotion, great hatred. And in that moment, he would handle the knife as best as he could. And a trained knife fighter, he would handle it as he had been trained, underhand. But a man who had not been trained would go overhand. But the boy's being very smart. Everyone knows he's an experienced knife fighter, so he's smart enough in that moment to make the kind of wound an amateur would make. That boy is a smart one. Smart enough to wipe the fingerprints away. Perhaps even smart enough to wait until an L train was going by in order to cover up the noise. Now, is the boy smart or is he dumb?
Now, wait a minute.
Well, the woman across the L tracks saw the murder through the L train, so someone in the L train could have seen the murder too.
A possibility, but no one did that we know of.
It would take an awfully dumb man to take that chance, doing the murder as the train went by?
Exactly. A dumb man. A very stupid man, a man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train coming. And whoever did kill the father, he probably did it as well as he could.
So?
The boy is dumb enough to do everything to associate himself with a switch knife murder, and then a moment after the murder, he becomes smart. Smart enough to make the kind of wound to lead everyone else to suspect someone else. And yet, at the same instant, he is dumb enough to do the killing as an L train is going by. And then a second later, he is smart again. Smart enough to wipe the fingerprints away. To say this boy is guilty, you have to say he is dumb from 8 o'clock until about midnight. And that at midnight, he's smart for a few seconds, dumb for a second, and then smart again. And then he becomes stupid. So stupid, he does not think of a good alibi. Now, is the boy smart or is he dumb? To say this boy is guilty, you have to toss his intelligence like a pancake. There is a doubt.
I hadn't thought of that.
And on the stand, the old man swore. He insisted it was only 15 seconds. But we all agree it had to be at least 40 seconds.
Does the old man lie half the time, and then does he tell the truth the other half of the time?
And for the boy to be guilty, he must be stupid, then smart, then stupid, then smart, then stupid, and smart, and so on. And for the boy to be guilty, the old man must lie half the time and tell the truth the other half of the time. You can reasonably doubt.
I'm sold on reasonable doubt.
I think I am too. I wanted more talking. Now I've had it.
I want another vote.
Okay, there's another vote called for. I guess the fastest way is a show of hands. Anyone object? All right, all those voting not guilty, raise your hands. Nine. Okay, guilty? 3. The vote is 9-3 in favor of acquittal.
I don't understand you people. How can you believe this boy is innocent? Look, you know how these people lie. I don't have to tell you. And they don't need any real reason to kill anyone either. You know, they get drunk and bang, someone's lying in the gutter just like that. And no one's blaming them. You know what I mean? They're violent. Where are you guys going? I'm trying to tell you. Look, these people are out drinking and fighting, and hey, if somebody gets killed, so somebody gets killed. Oh, sure, there are a few good things about them, I'll be the first to say that. And I've met a few who were pretty decent in my life, but those are the exceptions. I'm speaking my piece, and you listen to me. They're no good. There's not one of them who is any good. And you believe me, that boy on trial, he's listen to me, I'm trying to tell you something, come on!
If you open your mouth again, I'm going to scratch your eyes out.
I was only trying to tell you.
All right, sit down, everybody. I still believe the boy is guilty of murder, and I'll tell you why. To me, the most damning piece of evidence was given by the woman across the street who claims that she actually saw the crime committed.
All right, let's go over her testimony. What exactly did she say?
I believe I can recount it accurately. She had gone to bed at about 11 o'clock that night. Across from her bed is the window, and she can look through it and see directly across the street through the L train. She tossed and turned for about an hour until about 12:10 when she looked out of the window and saw the boy stab his father through the windows of a passing L train. To me, this is an unshakable testimony.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important testimony.
In view of this, I don't see how you can vote for acquittal. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. There's so much evidence to sift.
What do you mean? She's absolutely right. You can throw out all the other evidence.
I thought that was the case. Shall we say that on one side of the tracks there is doubt? But what can you say about the story of the woman? She saw it.
What time is it?
10 minutes till 6.
You don't suppose they'd let us go home and finish this in the morning? My little girl has the mumps.
Not a chance.
You can't see the clock without your glasses on?
Not clearly.
Oh,
Glasses are a nuisance, aren't they? That's why I switched to contacts.
you guys don't wear your glasses to bed? What about when you wake up at night and want to know what time it is?
I put on my glasses and look at the clock.
I just lie in bed and wait for the clock to chime. My father gave it to us when we were married, my husband and I. It was 12 years before we had a place to put it.
You never wear your glasses to bed.
Of course not. No one wears glasses to bed.
The woman who saw the murder, she wore glasses, didn't she?
Did she wear glasses?
Of course. The woman wore bifocals. I remember these very clearly. They looked quite strong.
That's right. Bifocals, she never took them off.
Funny. I never thought of that.
I think it's logical to say that she was not wearing her glasses in bed. And I don't think she put them on to glance casually out of her window. She testified that the night of the murder, she saw the boy kill his father the instant she looked out of her window, and then a split second later the lights went out. Now, perhaps this woman honestly thought she saw the boy kill his father. I say she only saw a blur.
How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's farsighted. How does she know these things?
Is there anyone here who still thinks you cannot reasonably doubt?
I will always wonder, but there is a reason for it.
I think he's guilty.
Does anyone else?
No. I'm convinced there's a reasonable doubt.
You're alone.
11 votes, not guilty, 1 guilty.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right.
Yes, you have a right.
Well, I told you I think the boy's guilty. What else do you want?
Your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We're waiting to hear them again. We have time.
Listen, what's the matter with you? You're the one who made all the arguments. You can't turn now. A guilty man is going to be walking the streets. A murderer. He's got to die. You have to stay with me.
I'm sorry. I'm convinced there's a reasonable doubt. I don't think I'm wrong very often, but I guess I was this once.
We're waiting.
You're not going to sway me. It's going to be a hung jury and that's it.
There's nothing we can do about that, except hope that maybe in a few months, you might finally be able to sleep.
You're alone.
It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone.
If it is a hung jury, the trial will be run again. Some of us will point these things out to various lawyers.
All right!
They're waiting. Not guilty.
Not guilty.